Hey, welcome to Coffee with DJ. I'm Pastor DJ. So glad that you're tuned in. Over the next several days, I want to spend some time with you in the book of Colossians. So over the next several days, next several weeks, we're going to spend some time in the book of Colossians. Colossians is a powerful book. It's an extension of the book of Ephesians, and Paul really is trying to distinguish Christ from the fake, fictitious teachings about Christ. Paul is really trying to hammer away on who Christ is in the book of Colossians. And he starts talking about the supreme authority of Christ. He starts talking about Christ's authority over creation. And he starts talking about Christ's authority over the new creation. And he really starts talking about how Christ is the head of the church, how he's the Lord in our private places, how he's the Lord in our private practices, how he's the Lord in our public corporate worship. And Colossians is just a joy. It's one of my favorite books of the Bible because Paul tries to take a hold of the truth of Christ and all of its promises and connect it to some of the practical behaviors that we can apply to our everyday experiences. And this is an important time for this book to be written because the second temple has been built by the Jews, had just been constructed at the time of this book. And Paul was up to the challenge of combating the false teaching that flows from there. So I want you to understand that the book of Colossians exists to come against false teachings about who Christ is. And sometimes it's not just the false teaching, it's the insufficient teaching that makes it false teaching. So you kind of limit the deity of Christ. You try to limit the identity of Christ. You try to make Christ just a good teacher, or Jesus is a good prophet, or just a good person. But Paul is trying to come against that. He wrote Colossians to combat that. He writes from this standpoint throughout the entire book so that the audience is aware of the different types of false teachings out there. He's trying to warn the church about vain and deceitful philosophies. He's trying to warn the church and condemn teaching that is insufficient the nature of who Christ is. He's also making a major point of the centrality of Jesus Christ, how Christ is central to the church. And so if we can make Christ central in our walk, it really helps us to be able to not be deceived. Psalms chapter 1 also is a help because Psalms chapter 1 lets us know that there are wicked people. It says, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in a way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night." And the reason why I'm reading Psalms chapter 1 is because Colossians is trying to keep us. Colossians will actually identify for us the people who are wicked, the people who are sinners, and the people who are mockers of Christ. If somebody tries to limit the work of Christ, they are wicked. If somebody tries to limit the sufficiency of who Christ is, they are a sinner. If somebody doesn't practice or keep an eye on Christ and live in the way that Paul kind of lays out for us in Colossians, they are a sinner, and we're not to have anything to do with them. And so Colossians really is a wonderful truth that we can daily kind of dive into to help us on our Christian journey. And I look forward to going through the book of Colossians with you here on Coffee with Pastor DJ. What a wonderful season in our lives to really dive into this book. And I pray you'll join with me daily. And remember, I got to get out of here. I'll be back with day one. This was kind of an intro to the book of Colossians. I'll look at day one. We're going to the very first verse on tomorrow morning. Until then, if it ain't kingdom, it ain't worth it.